I'm happy to bring up our next speaker, Matthew Winter. Matthew is the president of beautifulPB. Matt has a strong history of community engagement and consensus building for a wide range of projects, types, and sizes. In 2014, Matt co-founded beautifulPB, a 401c3 nonprofit focused on creating an eco-districts in Pacific Beach, San Diego. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, everyone. I set this up Pechacucha style or Pechacucha style, depending on where you're from. So quick slides. We shortened it a little bit because I was the last guy, so we'll see if I can keep up. But our eco-district, we're the little eco-district that could. We're 100% volunteer. I think we're maybe the only one that is. We're bounded by La Jolla to the north. We're in San Diego. La Jolla to the north, Pacific Beach to the west, Mission Bay to the south, and the 5 freeway to the east. And our eco-district is also, and then SeaWorld's right in the middle down there, so we're talking to them about partnerships and things like that. But it all started here. This is a 4-block space in the right on the beach. It's very run down. It's owned by one developer. The planning department had been saying, the planning groups have been saying no to what the developer had been proposing for many years, and finally the planning group came to me and Kristen Victor, who's in the back there, and a couple other people to tell them what we could do. So we came up with some ideas, and we had a bunch of traditional community engagement meetings. Obviously, everyone's been hearing about community engagement all week long, and this is going to talk a little bit about how we can move to a different kind of community engagement. These were very traditional, but we had a lot of meetings about this stuff, and we came up with sort of some counterintuitive thoughts that we'd figured out. Getting rid of parking, we thought that was a non-starter with our group, especially down by the beach areas. Shrinking traffic lanes, but actually the community kind of put that stuff forward. So this is what we call the PB Parks project. And after we developed the concept plan, then our small team, which is one landscape architect, one civil engineer, one sustainability expert, and one architect, kind of put this PB Parks plan together. And that was really the genesis of our little group. We had since we took it as far as we could take it. And we actually, back in 2013, we applied for a grant with the Sustainable Smart Growth Initiative Program grant. It wasn't actually us applying, it was the city of San Diego applying, but we wrote the grant for them. So a bit of a make-work project for their planning groups. We didn't actually get that one. We actually got the one the next year, which was about $550,000 study to take our plan to the next level. Coincidentally, our little area right there, that red square that we were talking about in the PB Parks zone, is a conflux of a bunch of multimodal transportation, bike paths, bus paths, walking paths. There's a trolley that comes to it. So we initially said, let's create some way to make this thing happen, and that was the Community Benefit District, which was, so this is pre-eco-district time, but we went to the city and said, how can we do this? And they said, well, we can't give you guys money, you're just like 5 guys. So we actually tried to create this district, but the city was very helpful, and they actually sent our group up to the Portland incubator back in that time period. So before the EcoDistricts was an actual organization, they were creating these kind of summits and things and talking about how to create these districts. And so we started out very, very early. We immediately came back and had 2 major community collaboration meetings. The first one was a big town hall with the AIA, the American Architecture Association, provided a grant to bring in their sustainable design assessment team, and they came in and they wrote a 400-page encyclopedia about our space. And we had also we had breakout sessions that a U.S. senator or House of Representatives guy, and then we had breakout sessions, all that typical kind of stuff you have about engagement. So we had that meeting, and then it was very successful. Immediately on the heels of that, we had another meeting we called we had all kinds of data and stuff that we're going to go on forever about this, but we immediately went into the next meeting, which was the EcoDistrict meeting, and this is a direct offshoot of the Portland incubator trip that the city sent us on. They brought some people with us, and then we had some community members with us. And that's really how we started. That's when we got into, everyone was in full agreement. This time now we have the PB Town Council, the the local governance group, Discover PB, which is the local business district, the planning group. You know, we had a lot of different groups on board that hosted this. So at the very, very beginning, we got basically all the major governance groups in Pacific Beach to help. But we also started bringing in a lot of businesses, a lot of policy experts, professional experts, and so this is how we started to get going on this thing. And there's actually 42 nonprofits in our little Pacific Beach area, but the major ones are all involved in this right from the get-go. And we had actually had our Declaration of Cooperation. I think we had 23 of them signed, is that right, Kristen? From all these groups like 4 years ago. But we very quickly knew we needed to do some sort of brick and mortar type stuff, real things on the ground, real permanent items. So we came up with a list of projects that made a lot of sense for our community. Once again, kind of creating the pile of stuff that we'd be focusing on in the next couple of years. We had the bike paths, and we have a community benefit district, and we have a historic highway running through our space that we wanted to make better. But the biggest one is this safe routes to school. So the city of San Diego had put a bunch of bike paths all over the place in Pacific Beach. Of course, they put them on the busiest streets, the fastest streets, and of course the streets that have the most vertical inclines. And they didn't connect to any of the schools. So all those white dots on there with the numbers are different school locations in all the little areas of blue. And so we really wanted to connect all the schools. And so we've called this the PB Pathways and the PB Murals project. We had actually, so this is the painting of that mural. This was a massive community engagement event. And then what it became, what we started to realize very quickly is it's not a community engagement per se. The event is the community engagement. That's when the knowledge happens. That's when the connections happen. So we're starting to step away from, there's a couple more murals at a couple of different schools, and we've actually translated this outside of Pacific Beach into other neighborhoods all over San Diego now. We've created a little toolkit to explain to other people how to do it. But we're trying to get away from the traditional, we present something, we get feedback, we go back and present something, we get feedback. It's a very sort of binary, long process, and just doing it. So it's a little bit of a bull in the china shop kind of mentality. But we actually have the city has actually put up these signs for our PB pathways, so they're bought into it. And there's little mileage markers, and we want it to be very Pacific Beachy. So instead of a traditional bike share, we have these surfboards that are on the ground. And those are city workers installing them. So I'm not exactly sure how we convince them to do that, but and so we are paying for this though. This is not just they're doing it; they're installing it, but we're paying for the materials, the signs, all that kind of stuff. Another piece of this project is the PB Counts project. So we really wanted to explain to the city why we needed to move some of these bicycle paths around and where the major traffic is. And without having them do major full-blown traffic engineering studies, we were able to do a volunteer effort to give them the information they needed. We've done this 4 years in a row now, and to see if there has been changes because of some of the stuff that we've been doing. There's new scooters are starting to come into, electric scooters are in Pacific Beach, so there is change in traffic patterns. So we actually have gotten quite a bit of data, quite a bit of information, and we've conducted it in a real technical fashion, even though it's all volunteer effort, in ways that we can actually hand it to the city's traffic engineers, and they go, oh, this is real data, this is real stuff I can understand and think about. So it really is important to sort of take it to that level. So I mean, you have to use as many favors as you can in the professional engineering community to do that kind of stuff, but it's important. To pay for it, we've partnered with Carl Strauss Brewing Company, and they are our major funding piece for this stuff. And Amplified Ale Works, which is a microbrewery in Pacific Beach, they provide they actually give us, they've created a beer called PB Pathway Ale, which is really great. And they actually change the recipe every once in a while, and then we actually have these parties that actually shows it to the community. Right now there's $16,000 raised so far. And that's our little coaster pattern up there. And then we have these events. That's a flyer for one of the events for that effort. So that's our funding mechanism for that piece. And it's actually sort of peeled away there in our budgets. This is a little letter to report to the Planning Commission. We're actually working on public policy with the City of San Diego to change placemaking. They just passed a new placemaking law that allows for murals in streets, parklets on you know, traffic avenues, and how to do that. When we originally did this process 3 years ago, and I'm an architect, I've been going to the building department for 20 years, it was still a nightmare. It took me 6 months to figure it out, how to get them to agree to let us paint something on the street. So we sort of blazed a trail for some of this stuff and helped them write their municipal code, and went to a lot of public policy meetings to help them. The jury's still out on whether the condensed process is actually really effective and actually as red taped cut out as possible. We're working on some new ones, so we'll see soon. But there was a lot of technical information. You still have to do this stuff in the public right-of-way, and if it's permanent, you still have to do right-of-way permits and encroachment maintenance permits. So hopefully it's a streamlined effort. But all this stuff, because we're 100% volunteer, it's all about the partnerships, utilizing other people's skill sets. This is the opening of one of the murals. And it's, I mean, this is, one of the murals was a school mural, so they actually put it together. They actually had the kids do a competition for the artwork that's on the mural. Another one is the PB Community Garden. One of our community gardens, our only community garden, was shut down by a developer who was developing the land. And so we created a new one, and there's a new organization offshoot, and they have used our nonprofit status as our connector piece so they can do this. We dedicated this last summer, I think, or maybe a year ago. And I think there's like 20 boxes there, and it's a really just getting started. So under partnerships we have with the County of San Diego, the Live Well, I don't know if anybody knows about this. It's sort of an offshoot of the Health and Human Services. It's sort of almost a rebranding of some of their health and wellness and community pieces. It's very successful. They sort of proclaim, we have a connection with them. They gave us a little honorary certificate saying, Beautiful PB Day. The wetlands, this is a big chunk of the land in our space. So there's a whole group that's looking into this. It's made up of marshlands, wetlands, there's a high school, there's a trailer park, there's campgrounds, there's a golf course. All that stuff is a major piece of our water infrastructure in Pacific Beach. And that's, you can see it at the bottom of this picture right here. The Rose Creek, Audubon Society, and River Foundation, they're doing a bunch of effort. And so we're trying to key all this stuff together. There's, like I said, there's a lot of different stakeholders and shareholders in this area. But the way we thought we could do it was to create the PB Learning Center. So this is the PB, we've partnered with JN Financial, who owns a lot of properties on Garnett Avenue. And then my firm has done some little pro bono work to do quick little elevations to just try and clean up this elevation. That actually went in for building permit this morning in San Diego, I've been told. And the hope is that we'll open it up on December 14th. It's a very quick burn, but it's just a quick little facelift. And the JN Financial is trying to update their community input into this street. And so they're trying to actually do a lot of pop-up stuff and different people. So we'll be housed there, and we'll be doing the PB Learning Center, EcoDistrict Learning Center is what we're calling it. That's going to open on December 14th. That same day, we're also doing what we're calling the PB Holiday Walkabout. And this is a street closure effort where it's not about a parade or a block party or a bunch of vendors or anything like that. We just want to get cars off the street for a day and see what happens. It's 8 city blocks, basically from the middle of Pacific Beach to the bay or to the water, and we're going to be doing a big long strip center line for driveways. I mean for bicycles. We're doing roundabouts. We have an army of about 50 volunteers that are going to be putting down this basically a half-mile pile of stuff. You know, I think probably about 45 minutes. So we have a half day to do all this stuff, and we just want to see what happens. So we've had a sort of publicity. Obviously, there's little parklets and things like that, but this is not about having a bunch of vendors in the middle of the street, but the community can come out into the street, the retailer can come out into the street, but it's not like we're going to pack the street with stuff. And we have a campaign right now called Free Garnett, because we've been trying to close it for a long time to create a more walkable community. So that's sort of, we're trying to show people what we can do. And once again, These events are the events. These are the community engagement. The action is the engagement. The feedback we get is when we kind of force people to help out. And we're, just from a certification standpoint, I want to just close. Since we've been at this for a while now, we feel like we're getting close to the end of our roadmap. I don't know if it's totally true or not, but we're trying to get certified soon. So that's the update for the PB EcoDistrict. Thanks.